Hi there friends, and welcome back to episode 5 of my tutorial series for Factorio. I'm Icon, and today we're going to start setting up our starter base. The starter base is going to provide us all the necessary materials that we need for further expansion, because right now our little empire is really just a little empire. Between this and the last episode, I set up, just like I promised you guys, a bigger smelter column for the copper. We got now 24 furnaces running here, and I amped up the amount of miners, of course, as well. So, beyond that, I've also set up a small-scale stone mining operation, where I also took the liberty of burning myself some brick. I've only set up a very small stockpile of these. If I don't know when or how I'll need them. The thing about brick, I basically produced it to showcase it here, is you can pick it up and you can place it down somewhere. And with the plus and the minus button on your keyboard, you can make the rectangle larger or smaller. And the thing about these is this flooring here that I'm dropping down here is not only looking neat, it's also increasing your movement speed. So if you have really long pathways, walkways in your factory, you might want to consider using these, because even a small patch of brick, later on we have better options for that as well, does make your movement speed a lot faster, and on those heavily and often frequented roads it's really awesome. And it even goes together with the transport belt, so if you're moving on a transport belt that has brick below it, you have both of the speed bonuses applying on you. Just a little thing on the side. So today, starter base. We're going to leave this little facility that I've set up here running like it is. It is more like a small science gizmo, and we're not going to be happy in the long run with it, but for now we're going to leave it running and let it do our science. We're going to go for one thing though. I'm going to add in 2 more laboratories, so we have a little bit more research power. By the way, let's just plunder some of these electronic circuits. Makes the job a lot easier, as you can see. And then we're going to head over and thinking about our starter base. So the goal for a starter base, in my humble opinion, is that it should, like I mentioned before, provide you with everything that you will need for further expansion. And we're going to take our resources now and open up the map. So I don't want to construct anywhere near here right now, because this is a little finished thing and we're not going to interfere with that. I think I'm going to build my starter base somewhere over here. Our power plant will evolve into this direction, so I should be keeping this spot here open. So we're going to use this area here for the starter base. It's really important that you keep planning out your things, and one big rule of one rule of thumb in this game is always plan big. Always plan a lot more space into the thing than you would assume that it needs. And most of the time you will be happy about that. So, we have our copper here, and I'm going to bring up a splitter now. And first off, we're going to do this like that, so it looks a little bit neater. And a second splitter. This is not necessary. This is just me wanting to have this entire belt filled with copper. It's really not that necessary. So now I'm following this, but now I'm taking the detour here. It's up to you, of course, how you want to set up these things. It would be a lot more efficient to make the split off here. So would have saved me some build, but you get the idea. There's always something to optimize in this game. This is another groundbreaking rule that you will run into. The longer you play this game, the more you will realize that basically every step you take, everything you do, there will be something that you want to optimize at the end of the day. You will be finding everywhere little things, and that's the joy of Factorio. Don't let that demotivate you. No, that's just you noticing and learning how your factory can work better. And until then, don't let yourself get blocked by your noobiness, so to say. Just go crazy. Just do things as you think they are right, and you can always correct things afterwards with this game. That's the beauty of Factorio. You don't get punished for misplacing things. The only thing that is a little bit annoying is that your inventory will spill over with stuff that you don't need at some point. That's a tad bit annoying. But beyond that, it's up to you. So, starter base. We want to build now a area where we're going to provide for ourselves all these transportation belt devices, all these inserters, preferably also pipes, and all these machines. So we have the basic materials available here. We have iron and we have copper. Of course, 7.5 copper plates and iron plates per second are not too powerful, but it's enough for a starter base. We're going to research now the steel axe. This thing it does officially increase your character's mining speed, but what's not so clearly visible there is that it will also increase the speed and the rate at which you pick up things from the ground, which is really awesome. So we're going to build, like I said, our little starter base here. The first thing that I want to do here is I want to show you what we're going to need there. So we're going to need lots of different things. So transport belts want gear wheels. We have here a need for electronic circuits. These pop up in a lot of different recipes again. And when we check this out, a lot of these items later down the road need those intermediate products in a larger scale. So we're going to do one thing here up front. I'm going to pick up 2 assemblers here, or maybe let's say 3, and configure them to create for us copper cable. So today I want to optimize these things a little bit more thoroughly than in the last episode, so we're going to use our max rate calculator once more. So this time we're going to go here into the basic inserters menu. So here you can see this machine needs for the input 1.2 yellow basic inserters. Otherwise, this machine won't get enough copper plates to get its job done. And even worse, to output these cables, every machine would need 2.4 of those yellow inserters. Since you can't put down 0.4, you will have to put down 3. So in the last episode, I've also researched fast inserters already. Fast inserters are made out of yellow inserters, and they are, like the name implies, a lot faster. I want to explain to you how you're supposed to think about that. So we're going to use one fast inserter. When you check this out here, one fast inserter is able to get the job done in both directions. And now I just want to put a yellow one down for comparisons. So when you check out the box there below the minimap again, right below no power, you have the line rotation speed, 302 degrees per second. This means this thingy can rotate itself like 5/6 of a circle per second, because a circle has 360 degree, so this thing doesn't get a full circle done in an entire in a second. It needs a tad bit more than that. The fast inserter, though, it has a rotation speed of 864 degree per second. That means this sassy little thing gets 2 rotations done per second, and then a part of another one. And that's how the inserter speed is supposed to be understood. And since that's a pain to calculate, that's why I use tools like the max rate calculator. But as has been pointed out in the comments in the last episode, that's one thing that I missed to mention, because I simply didn't know, The moment you start playing with mods, your achievements won't be registered by Steam anymore because you're playing a modded game. So if you're a achievement hunter, you don't you shouldn't play with those mods that I'm introducing here. Oh no, I'm out of wood. That's another problem there. We're still relying on wood for our power supply. And as you can see here, we're not really in a forested area, but that's actually a good thing. And we have to chop down a bit of wood. So, what I was trying to say the minute before is, if you are an achievement hunter, try to ignore the mods that I use. You can use this tutorial ideally as a accompanying thing that'll show you what you need to do to get the ball rolling. Most of the important ratios I'll be showcasing here anyway, so you can get your gig going without any issues. So let's get back into the max rate calculator. This machinery here now does consume 3 of our copper plates per second and does spit out 6 copper cables per second. Neat, isn't it? So we're going to use those copper cables now for electronic circuits. Because as a matter of fact, raw copper cable is not really used in any of these machines. Copper cable, that's what we're needing for those electronic circuits. So let's get on down with those electronic circuits. Now, we're going to make ourselves a nice little workaround here. I'm picking up the iron plates there and moving down here. We're going to filter in the stuff like that, because electronic circuits are made out of iron plates and copper, so therefore we're good to go. So we can see here now that one of these machines needs 3 copper cables per second. We're producing right now 6 of them, so we have the ability to just put that down once more. So we are going to copy that recipe, shift right click into shift left click, and there we go. So let's check out our ratios here once more. So as you see here, basic inserter-wise, this machine is madness. It would need 3.6 yellow inserters just for the cables alone. If we put that down to fast inserters, we can cut it down to 2 blue inserters, but that's how hungry these things are. So let's produce a couple of these. And let's see for the output. Not even for the output, the yellow one is sufficient, so we're using blue ones all the way. Or, I have a better idea. We go over to our buddies, the long-handed inserters. We haven't played with them in a while. Or can we actually do that? Check. In the early game, you got quite severe problems in terms of power connections. So, as you see here, I need to use a little bit of a workaround to connect the red dude over there, but this will work out quite decently. So, the alternative would have been using a blue inserter somewhere up here, but since I want to let my copper roll down the hill here and alongside with the iron, felt like this would be a nice thing. Okay, we got that down. So now I want to create another useful thing. Like I mentioned before, iron gear wheels are a necessity there as well, and that's just the entire times like that. So we're going to place down, just like we did before, 3 of these guys. Oops, I need to handcraft one of them. You don't need to prepare this in the back end like I do here, but it is certainly useful to have it. Oops, wrong button. So we're checking out the inserters here yet again. As you see here, a yellow inserter is just way too weak for that. We need those blue inserters all the way, and that's why it's a good idea to start crafting these in a automated way. we're going to pick up some of these electronic circuits that are being made down there for us, because, you know, this will save us time. Alright. Let's see. Yep, we need to go on like that. Just heading on over to the other area here to grab some more transportation belt. That's a neat thing to have, these little this little array like that. I really like to have these because I like to use them as my little street building depot. You know. All right. And here we go. Now we got also the iron gear wheels. And now I'm just going to pick up these things and let them go downhill there. And combine these as well. So let's see. These bad boys here get on together 3 gear wheels per second. We could expand this if we'd want to. There would be room for more machines. Not so much here. Here we would be needing to get ourselves some other ideas. But, well, that's a nice start. But to give you guys some ideas about the proportions of hunger here, we're already using up 8 iron plates per second and 3 copper plates per second. So basically, if what I've built here would be running non-stop, we would be already out of iron. Hard to imagine, if you're new to this game, that this thing here does barely cover that, but that's just how it is. But the good news there is, these machines won't be running all day long, and this is a nice starter budget to work with. Okay, we now have the most necessities down. So since I really find it quite bothersome to build those inserters by hand, we're going to start out today with the inserters. So the yellow inserter needs an iron plate, an iron gear wheel, and an electronic circuit. Luckily, we got these materials here on the board already. So what I'm going to do next is we're going to prolong that, build myself some splitters. Also something we're not going to do that much longer. And now I'm going to get on over here, and I want to bring some iron down here to work with it. So first off, I'll be putting down a underground belt thingy. I like to use the full length of these so I have more free room, and then we're going to roll it down here like that. So now we have the necessary materials together that our first machine will need. Also feel free to pilfer these materials a bit while you are in the handcrafting phase. It's a blessing. Now, we're going to set up a first machine here. Iron plate, iron gear wheel, electronic circuit. With these machines, I don't give any interest into satisfying their inserter needs and the like, because at the end of the day, these machines here are mostly used for me as an end product. With the only exception of the yellow inserter, because the yellow inserter happens to be an ingredient for all manner of other inserters. So we're going to try to max out this thing a tad bit more, but I won't be overdoing it. The gist of it is, what I'm trying to say here is, I think when you're building raw materials, like here the iron and the copper, and the copper cables and the gear wheels, it's totally worth it to work on max ratio. With these things, just plug in the inserters that you see in mind and keep going. It's not that important. So I needed a red inserter here, of course, to grab the iron plate from the faraway belt. And let's get on over to the next recipe. The long-handed inserter, the red one, needs iron plate, iron gear wheel, and a yellow inserter. So we can just put this up here like that. And continue basically just like that. Alright, we need a red inserter. Oh, let's get him over here. And a blue inserter. I have a tendency to use those blue inserters even though they are a little bit more power intense on all manner of occasions, because this way I at least know that they're working out as intended, but that's just a spleen of mine. So we're outputting those guys in there. Very important, limit those outputs. Otherwise, you'll be ending up with thousands of inserters that you don't necessarily that you're not necessarily wanted to build. So next on the list is the blue inserter, the fast inserter, and as you see here, due to the preparations that we've made, we can't just set up one assembler after another, and they work quite well hand in hand together. So we're going to set up that. And our plan is to end the age of handcrafting as quick as possible. So we need iron plate, that needs a red one. And we need that needs a blue one. Or green or yellow one would do too. And we need a basic inserter, and we need the output there. There we go. Boom. And also limiting that. And if you check these ratios out now, you would see that we're producing not enough basic inserters to satisfy this thing. So basically, we'd need a second machine producing yellow inserters to keep that thing running on max capacity the whole time. We don't want that. Why? Because basically, once these machines have filled these chests to the level where I'm happy with it, they don't have any other job furthermore. Therefore, I really don't do this that often. So we're going to set up the filter inserter as well. That's one inserter that I haven't explained yet. The filter inserter is configurable, so you can tell that inserter what kind of item he's supposed to pick up. This can be extremely useful at times, and therefore it is one of those situational inserters. You're not going to use these that often. They are really no standards, but in some situations they're just golden and just the thing that you want to have. Therefore, we're preparing one stack of these, but really only one stack of these. We don't need more than that. And now at the end of the line, we're going to drop down one chest there. And that's where I'm going to be storing my yellow inserters. And you might already have noticed that I am a little bit biased here with the storages there. I just know that the yellow inserters are your general all-star here in many regards in that game, and you're going to use them a lot. So here, that's our machinery. As you see here, this is nice, compact, but also already running out of green circuits. If we're checking this out, let's hold that together with a max rate calculator. As you see here, we're producing 5 circuits per second too less or too little to get that thing going. So too few, that's the word I was looking for. So that's the crazy behind that. We have literally no chance in making these things work on out decently with these ratios. That's why this thing here is called a starter base, because we're not going to be able to let these things running forever. But the cool thing about it is, as soon as these slots are filled, the consumption of these machines recedes, and you're going to be fine. Since you will be building in the background the whole time anyways, most of the time you're not even noticing this too much. So the next thing on the list is going to be the street building department, as I like to call it. We're going to get ourselves down the road here, and this is where we're going to draw thin our electronic circuits. This means the inserters will always be built first, and then only then will the other things be produced. And by the way, I'm tired of one thing. Let's do one thing in between. Let's build an assembler which builds assemblers. I'm dead tired of that thing, and I want to change that. So, iron plate, iron gear wheel, electronic circuit. We got all these things, and therefore, no biggie. This will help us a ton, so we don't have to handcraft those things the whole day. So again, limit that, especially those assemblers. And now let's get over to the street building department. Luckily, we have now one happy assembler producing assemblers for us. Isn't it great? So let's get started here with the transport belts. We already have a similar machinery running over there, but now luckily we have the iron gear wheel already on the table. We're going to drop down the belt yet again on another belt, casually picking up some of these blue inserters. That was, by the way, holding down left shift and left clicking a stack. This way you can completely pick up a stack or completely deposit a stack. And let's drop these guys down here. So underground belts will need iron plates and transport belts. So we're going to grab a couple of these buddies. And we're going to bring it on like that. And bring it out like that. So it's a similar concept, as you might surely already have noticed. And the splitter is a very similar recipe. It is... Where are all my... I thought I... Didn't I loot a lot of assemblers there? Well, whatever. Thought I had looted 11 of these. And let's put up the one for the splitters. As you can see here, my resources are running dry. We're certainly not producing enough electronic circuits. Believe me when I say that electronic circuits are one of the most important materials in your entire factory. But we're going to produce these things in large scales later down the road. This is another day's topic. But this is a very, in my humble opinion, a pretty elegant and nice way of getting your basic needs done. Yes, this takes a while until you get the ball rolling, and especially as you see here, the electronic circuits are totally insufficient for the needs of the factory, but it'll all even out along the way, along the road. And so we got now the assemblers, the inserters, and we got our logistics. Next on the road are mining machines, and I think what I'm going to do between this and the next episode is I'm going to double up on the production of electronic circuits here, maybe. Let's see about that. Let's continue here a little bit further. So the basic idea behind a mall like that is that you're able to produce pretty much everything automatically. But I personally tried to keep it on the starter base down to the necessities. For example, I feel like it's completely cool to automate steam engine production. This is a little bit of a more difficult recipe because we need pipes. But for example, the boilers that simply consist out of a stone furnace and 4 pipes, I don't automate them. Why? Because they need stone. And these stone furnaces and the boilers are basically the only items in the very early stage of the game that need stone. It's a pretty large effort to pipe in stone into your starter base setup just to have those things also automatically produced. It's up to you. The gist of it is your starter base should provide the stuff for you that you need most when you want to expand. And along these items are, for me, always also these assemblers, inserters, and belts. But as you can see here, the inserters are extremely circuit hungry. And also our iron plate is here depleting quite quickly. So if you want to have a really strong starter base, you will go for a array that is double as big as the one that I'm using here with 15 iron plates per second. But I wanted to showcase something small, something neat that does the job also quite decently, because it really does. So I'll be cutting the episode here, and in the next episode we're going to get our other products done. This is basically a two-part thing. We're going to finish the other part of the starter base. And from that point on, it's going to be about expansion. I think the second part of the starter base and the expansion phase might intermix a little bit with each other. I'm not so sure about that, but we're going to complete this beauty here in the next episode, probably with a couple of extra electronic circuits. I'm not so sure about that, but we'll see about that. So drop me your comments down below. Thanks for all the helpful comments that have been left here so far. I'm really enjoying that. If you have any questions, just ask away. Drop me a like if you enjoyed, and of course consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. There's daily content coming up from my side, and I'd be super happy to have you. See you guys there, and the factory must grow. Bye-bye.